It's Thursday night, so you know what that means. Welcome to the Highspots virtual gimmick table. I have a very special guest with me live via satellite right here. It is actually, you know what? I'll let him introduce himself to all you fans out there in internet land.
Wait. I don't get an introduction. I got to introduce myself. What kind of low budget operation you got going here?
They took all the show's money to go down there to visit you. So they left me with not even giving a full introduction. That's how low budget it is. Guys, this is the one and only Raven. Give it a round of applause to Raven. There's only two people in the studio and the other one is busy. I didn't boo. That's the other guy. That's the other guy.
I like to be booed.
All right, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm just going to say the name of a person, place, or thing. You can talk for as long or as little as you want about said topic. Are you ready?
Sure.
The first one, the National Enquirer.
The National Enquirer, it paid for my college education, so I'm a big fan of the National Enquirer. My dad was a senior editor for the paper. I told him I followed in his footsteps. He worked for a fake newspaper, and I worked for a fake wrestling company.
Okay, speaking of wrestling, Larry Sharp.
I went to Larry Sharp's Monster Factory. Larry was in Japan the whole time with Bam Bam Bigelow, so Charlie Fulton trained me. But it worked out fine because Charlie Fulton's a great worker, and he really taught me a lot. He taught me the basics. And Larry said after about a month of going to the school, he said, "I taught you everything we've taught you everything you need to know. Time to go out and get a job." But he didn't tell that to just everybody after a month. But I was lucky. It's the one thing I've been good at. Like the one thing I was born to do is be a pro wrestler.
Speaking of pro wrestlers, Matt Man.
I was not Madman. That was a totally different guy. I was Craig Malley.
Oh, wow. See? So Wikipedia, we get a lot of info from there. They claim you were the Matt Man.
I wasn't.
You need to tell Wikipedia to change that shit.
No, you need to tell him. You're the super guru. You tell him.
Okay, I absolutely will.
You have my permission.
Yes. What you heard it here first. We're going to talk about the late, great friend of this place, Daphne. We all love Daphne around here.
Daphne's a sweetheart.
Another name, Donnie and Marie Osmond.
I did their show with Conan. They loved us, but then afterwards they hated us because I said that Conan wanted to toss away Donnie Osmond's brother's salad, and they didn't know what it. Well, I didn't think anybody would know what it meant, and they didn't. But apparently they found out there. One of the producers must have smartened them up because when DDP met him years later, they're like, "Oh, we hate Raven, blah blah blah." But they loved us when we were there, though. Like me and Conan wrestled with Donnie and Marie. And Marie was pregnant, and she wanted to do all these high spots and stuff. It was really funny.
Wow. Forgive me if I mispronounce this name. Brian Azzarello.
Brian Azzarello is a comic book writer who's a good friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Who's a very famous comic book writer, and then I co-wrote a Spider-Man comic with him.
Yes, sir. Kevin Smith.
I never met Kevin Smith. I'm just a big fan of his stuff.
What's your favorite Kevin Smith production?
Mallrats.
Good call. Very good call. Famous.
I love when every time he's going to use the Force, he's like, zzz, and he's trying to get the Force, and then Jay will smack him in the side, like in the musical play, like the Force is starting to happen. And then Jay will smack him in the head, and the sound just dies.
Famous musician Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl was on. I was on TRL. Well, DDP was on TRL, and the Foo Fighters with Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters were on too. And I guess they were the first guest, and DDP was on. And then I interrupted the show on the TV monitor, and said blah blah blah. I don't like Paige, this and that. And then all of a sudden the feed went to black or something, and I showed up with a stop sign behind Paige because I was in the same room, behind like a closed door, and I came in with a stop sign and mashed him on top of the head, and the Foo Fighters they literally jumped out of their seats. It was so terrible. It was him and Taylor Hawkins, I think, and then they just jumped out of the chair. They were so terrified, and they went running.
Wow. You have been part of 11.
And then they put the picture of it in Rolling Stone magazine, and it was the worst picture I've ever taken. I look like a caveman.
Oh, no, that's not true. You didn't look like a caveman at all.
No, I did. I really did. I almost didn't recognize myself. I'm like, is that me?
You're going to start doing Geico commercials next with that photo.
I don't know about all that. Oh, this was 30 years ago.
Very
20
true.
years ago. 20 years ago. No, 25 years ago.
You've been part of 11 major wrestling factions in pro wrestling. The Alliance.
I have?
Yes, you have. I'm going to name them in alphabetical order. The Alliance, the Cartel, the Deadpool / Necro Ward, the Diamond Mine, EV 2.0.
Deadpool / what?
The Necro Ward with ICP.
We were never in Necro War. I was only in the Deadpool.
Okay. The Deadpool, the Diamond Mine, EV 2.0, the Gathering, Lobotomy, Raven's Flock, Raven's Nest.
That wasn't in a group called Lobotomy.
Apparently you were for a brief one-off run, according to the internet.
Never heard of the group Lobotomy.
Let's see. Raven's Nest, Raven's Flock.
I have to revoke your guru status.
That's how I'm still the guru, because somehow I still get to do this. Serotonin and Sports Entertainment Extreme. If you could do for lack of a better term, a reunion of one of those groups, which one are you going to pick?
For what purpose? For socializing?
For socializing.
The Flock, probably.
All right. You share a birthday with singer Pink. Politician Bernie.
I share a birthday with Lodi.
Do you really?
And Rex King.
Wow. You share
how funny is that? Rex King was the partner of my art nemesis in Portland, Steve Dahl, and then later to be known as Well Done, the two of them, and whatchamacallit, and then Lodi was my sidekick for 100 years.
Yes, very much so. We've seen him around these parts quite a bit here in North Carolina. But you also share one with singer Pink, politician Bernie Sanders, singer Patsy Cline, and former WCW champion David Arquette. Who would you most like to have dinner with and why?
David Arquette, too.
Yes, sir. Who would you like to have dinner with and why?
Out of that motley group?
Yes, sir.
Pink.
Pink? Any reason why?
She's hot. Simple. Otherwise, it was her or Bernie Sanders.
I couldn't agree more. Can you please give me Raven's perfect day? You have a day to just do whatever the hell you want to do. What's your perfect day?
I jump in the I wake up at about noon. I jump in the teleporter, and I end up at the Egyptian pyramids, the Great Pyramids of Giza. And I jump from landmark to landmark. Then I go to Machu Picchu. The reason I need the teleporter is it's just too long a flight. I'm past that part of my stage of my career.
That's incredible. Now, are there any things you want to...
Can you get me a teleporter, or are you not that kind of guru?
Brother, if I could get you a teleporter, I wouldn't be standing here. I'd be teleported right next to you right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Are there any things you want to plug? Social medias, upcoming events, all that good stuff, places where the fans can find you?
The Raven Effect podcast. It's on every Monday. It comes out every Monday. It's highly entertaining. We discuss nothing that has anything to do with wrestling. Well, it's wrestling adjacent, I would say, because wrestling gets brought up occasionally. I try my hardest not to let it, but sometimes it sneaks through the cracks. But yeah, it's a podcast. Me and Rich Bocchini, and who used to be a commentator, and he's still a commentator on indie stuff. He used to be in New York, and Joe Feeney, who's a worthless Phillies bum layabout, and they're my two sidekicks, and we just talk about everything.
Absolutely.
It'd be like this conversation if it didn't have anything to do with wrestling.
Touche. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to give you a virtual hug. We're going to hug it out virtually. Right there.
Do I have to hug you back?
I mean, you can if you want. It's your prerogative. But I'm going to give you a big virtual hug right here.
What am I, Bobby Brown? It's my prerogative.
Yeah, I mean, you could be. I don't know. I could be your tenderoni. That could be me. Raven, thank you so much for being here. And guys, we'll be back in just a minute with more VGT.